Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll talk about the Federation of State Beef Councils and how the state-national partnership is vital to the success of the beef industry. Plus, you'll see how some states are putting checkoff dollars to work to help drive beef demand.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. The success of the beef industry depends on the ability of producers to work together and build a strong, united front. The Federation of State Beef Councils was created 60 years ago to bring producers together to help build beef demand. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the role of the Federation, which is housed by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a contractor to the Beef Checkoff program. Here to talk more about this is Todd Johnson, Senior Vice President of Federation Services. Todd, let's start with a little history lesson. Tell us a little about the history of the Federation.
Yeah, it's important when we think about the history of the Federation of State Beef Councils to actually reflect on the Federation or the individual state beef councils and their rich history. Credit needs to be given to California as the first state to create a beef council, and the leaders in that state that came forward during a time of drought that was forcing herd liquidation, which was forcing oversupply of beef into the marketplace and consequently lower beef prices. So California leaders from all sectors of the industry, cow-calf and feeder, to the packers, the retailers, and even food service operators, came together and created a 10-cent per head voluntary checkoff program that was hopeful to generate $100,000 for their first advertising campaign. So credit is given to California for creating the first beef council in 1954. And then Montana followed shortly after that with a similar model about local control, producer-funded programming that could benefit the beef marketing and education space. Since that time, in the early 50s, several other beef councils were created, and eventually, through the Federation, became one group in 1963. And that was a division of the National Livestock and Meat Board at that time.
Sure. So tell us who all is involved in the Federation today and how do they get involved?
Every state is involved, and that's the beauty of the Federation. And it's really in two specific ways. There's a staff component of this where state beef council staff from across the country are coordinating literally on a daily basis, and they're executing programs on behalf of the beef checkoff in their state and across the country. Then there's the producer side, which is really the governance of our organization. So every state that invests into the Federation brings with that representation from their board to the national board, which then oversees programming.
So what do you see as the primary benefits of this multi-state effort?
It's really two-pronged. I think it's coordination and it's leverage. I say coordination because when we see state beef councils working together collectively, we have a lot better impact. Let's take, for example, the recent release of the Beef as a First Food nutrition-based research program that helped consumers and health influencers understand the value of beef as a weaning food for babies. When all the state beef councils are pulling together on a coordinated program, the consumer and that influencer is hearing a consistent message across the country. So we've really got a strong coordination role to play. And we also have leverage of producer dollars because we're doing things collectively and we're not recreating the wheel. So we're able to leverage those dollars, which are scarce, as valuably as possible.
That makes lots of sense to me. Now, you've mentioned the governance several times in terms of being led by a set of producer leaders, volunteer producer leaders. And I'm curious, you all get lots of proposals for lots of different ways that we can build beef demand. How do you both evaluate those proposals and then ultimately identify the success of those proposals or evaluate the success?
Yeah, I want to keep going back to the state level because it's really where it starts. And we're so fortunate that amongst all the beef councils across the country, there is approximately 700 producers collectively serving on those state boards.
Wow.
So the decisions to invest in programs start there. They start at the state beef council level. And that's an opportunity for grassroots input, expertise from the local level to guide programming through the system. The great thing that the checkoff provides, of course, is a return on investment study every year. And that program is done to look comprehensively at the checkoff. We know that the role of state beef councils plays a significant impact on that. And we find any time we can coordinate and look consistently at what we want to deliver, we're able to be more successful.
You know, a lot has changed since the 1950s and 60s in the beef industry. Why is the Federation of State Beef Councils so critical to the beef industry today in 2023?
You know, as I think about the proud history of our industry, that pride is based on independence and autonomy, and farmers and ranchers and dairymen and feeders, they're all doing the production system in the way that works best for them. I think the Federation has a strong role to play in bringing the consumer-facing work together with a common plan. So depending on where we come from, what part of the country or what industry segment, we're going to see the production side look different. But when we work together on a consumer front, whether that's our research, education, and promotion efforts, the Federation allows this mechanism for all those states with unique and different ideas to come together in a unified way. That's where the Federation has value in providing demand-building programs for consumers.
And I, for one, believe you all have been very successful. Thanks for all the work you do.
We appreciate it, and we're so grateful for the support and the leadership of producers across the country.
Absolutely. Do you want to learn more about the Federation of State Beef Councils and its efforts to build beef demand? Just visit the website, ncba.org, and click on the Federation link. So how exactly do state beef councils benefit from their partnership through the Federation of State Beef Councils? Here's Cattlemen to Cattlemen's Kate Maher with more details.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm here now with Lauren Mailing, who is the Executive Director of the Arizona Beef Council. Lauren, what are the benefits of having a strong state-national partnership like we do?
So many benefits, especially for a small state beef council with a large human population in Arizona. We rely heavily on the Federation for services, not only just design services and website hosting, but for the bigger picture of extending national programs to Arizona, where we have so many consumers ready to learn and searching for information about beef.
So talk about some of those events then maybe that you put on in Arizona through the Beef Council, aimed at driving demand with those consumers.
Our partnership with the Federation really helps us elevate our programs and offerings in Arizona. And a few examples are when we work with the Arizona Career and Technical Education teachers and being able to have a top expert in the culinary world present to our Arizona teachers, who will then extend that information to their many students in the classroom that they'll reach that year. Another one is when we take on a large digital advertising campaign so that we don't have to waste money on agency fees, so that we can use the Federation's digital marketing expertise to have buys, whether that's on connected TV and radio throughout Arizona, whether it's buying digital billboards to place in Phoenix during spring training and during popular events, because everyone wants to come to Arizona in the winter. And then also utilizing top nutrition experts to come talk to our nutrition audiences in Arizona, so that we bring that credibility when we reach Arizona consumers.
So Lauren, are there ways that other states can maybe take advantage of some of these benefits and efforts?
I really do think so. Regardless of the size of the state beef council, large or small, cattle state or high human population state, through the Federation, we can extend a cohesive and united message in a variety of ways. Maybe that state relies on Federation services for website hosting, or maybe it's extending events and branding, Beef What's for Dinner branding in our own state, depending on the geography or audience type of our state.
Yeah, it's also different. But there's got to be a lot of value in having real farmers and ranchers take part in these events. Maybe talk about the value of that.
The value of having our real beef farmers and ranchers from our states is so immense. And of course, our boards are producer driven. The decisions for the beef checkoff are made by beef farmers and ranchers. And then we as staff can implement those programs to represent and have producers at events wearing cowboy hats, wearing cowgirl boots. And those are so much more impactful for consumers to make those relationships with those who are raising their beef.
So as a state beef council, how important is the Federation to the long-term success of the beef industry, not only for those farmers and ranchers, but then also for the consumers of beef products?
Those who started the Federation of State Beef Councils 60 years ago had true vision in unifying an effort in beef promotion and education across the country. So I'm so thankful to those who had that insight 60 years ago, and moving forward to the next 60 years, we beef farmers and ranchers utilize the most efficient and effective technology as well to share beef messages and ensure that beef is the most preferred protein in the world.
Well, thank you for being here and chatting with us, and thank you so much for all your efforts and the work that you do in that regards.
Thanks for having me.
Kevin, back to you.
Thanks, Kate. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, you'll see how one state is putting checkoff dollars to work to build beef demand.
The Weather Watch is on deck, and this week we're going to be chatting about all this cold, what's driving it in, and is there a connection to El Nino and La Nina? That's straight ahead.
That certain time in the day when you can take a deep breath, knowing your work is done. That's the feeling Aspen products can create. Cost-effective alternatives to name brands that deliver the same results. Qualaxin is one of them. Use it to prevent and treat respiratory disease in your herd. Then breathe easy. Find them at Animal Health International.
Today, we're taking a closer look at the Federation of State Beef Councils and its role in building beef demand. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter has a look at a great event put on by the Washington State Beef Commission that had a positive impact on the local community.
The line of cars kept getting longer in Spokane, Washington as people rolled up to get boxes of food. Before the distribution even began, Washington beef producers were working to put together their share of the donation, ground beef that's highly prized by those in need. The program, supported by the Washington State Beef Commission and the state's beef producers, is called Beef Counts.
Beef Counts means to me that we're, as a Washington beef community, providing safe and nutritious beef to our neighbors in need.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful partnership. Beef Counts, the ranchers, Rose Hours, everybody comes together and works really hard to get good, nutritious beef into the hands of some really needy people. The folks who have been in line here for like 3 hours, they just love seeing those chubs that they get with the other food that we distribute today. It's a wonderful partnership.
Most of their studies show that the people in need, one thing they don't get in their diet very much is lean protein. So that's where AgriBeef, our beef company, comes in to donate all the beef to it, whether it's ground beef chubs or beef roasts. That's the one thing that's missing in most food banks across America, and that the people in need really desperately need.
So the Beef Counts program is one of AgriBeef's favorite programs to be a part of. It got started about 14 years ago in Idaho. We were donating to the Idaho Food Bank, something that we'd done for years and years, and we were talking with the CEO, Karen Bach, and she let us know that getting high quality protein is one of the hardest things for them at the Idaho Food Bank. And so we thought, being in the cattle industry, being in the beef industry, that's really something that we could be a part of. And so we ended up developing the Beef Counts program with her and the Idaho Beef Council and producers throughout the state. From there, we brought it to Washington.
Washington's beef community has had the Beef Counts program in place since 2010. In that time, more than $1 million have been donated, and more than 2.5 million servings of beef have reached Washington families in need.
So we've got ground beef being distributed today. That's one of the staples that we produce at the Washington beef plant. That enables people to be able to use it in many different recipes, and it's a lot easier from a standpoint of cooking up a meal, easier than roasts and those type things. ground beef seems to be a bigger hit just because of its ease of use.
At an event like this, mobile markets, we get anywhere from 250 to 350. The beef counts one, we have more people show up because they know they're going to get the beef. I'm guessing today we'll serve about 350 families. So that beef is part of a box of food that'll have a lot of produce in it, maybe a nice pie, lots of other nutritious food. So it all works together to give folks a really good handle on some good meals.
I think whenever you are part of a community that can give back and in such a meaningful way to give food, why wouldn't you? And folks in the beef and ranching communities, they choose to do this. They have a lot of choices in how to give back, and they make a choice to do this and sign up for it. And they don't just, it's not just about the fact that they're working hard to provide the beef, but then they come out and they hand it out as well, and it creates this full circle that's really special. You don't see that all the time.
KREM-TV2 is one of the partners in the Beef Counts program, using their broadcasts to let their viewers know about Washington beef producers and their efforts to raise quality beef and serve the community.
Hi, I'm Casey. This is my wife, Wendy, and my 4 boys. We cattle ranch here in Ford, Washington.
As local ranchers, we care for our cattle and the environment.
And we care for our neighbors through Beef Counts. Beef Counts is Washington's beef community, united against hunger.
Your St. Helens beef purchase at Rosar's this summer will help provide nutritious beef to families in need in partnership with Second Harvest.
Buy beef and fight hunger.
So our program runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day every summer. 10 cents of every pound of beef sold at Rosar's goes towards funding or helping fund this organization, this partnership, up to $50,000 in partnership with AgriBeef and the Washington State Beef Commission, the Washington Beef Community, CREM 2 News, Second Harvest, and so we all work together.
Not everyone in line knows what will go in the food box they receive that day, but when they see ground beef chubs are a part of the donation, there's a nearly universal reaction.
It's overwhelmingly gratitude. People are so thankful. People are just ecstatic. It feels like, it's just gratitude. I don't think I can come up with another word. It's just the fact that, you're getting the variety of food that we're giving them. And let's face it, we've all been in a place of need at some point in our life. So to see the gratitude, the joy, the thankfulness, it touches you.
I have been on beef distributions where people have cried. They're so excited. I'm not overstating. They are so excited to get something that they can give their family that normally they would not be able to afford, and it's just not in their budget, and they can go home and make that, and it is a big deal, especially so many folks with kids as we're starting school, and to be able to go home and feed them something that is healthy and that they can craft a whole dinner out of, it matters.
They give us a very big thank you, and we always remind them, thank us, but we're just kind of the middleman. If it wasn't for the beef producers, we wouldn't be able to do that. As we were talking earlier, there's often kind of an emotional tug-of-war that goes on inside you at these. You see the need, you look at people's faces, they need this food. So that's kind of heartbreaking, but then when you hand them that box of wonderful food with the beef in it, that's heartwarming. So really, it's an emotional tug-of-war, but at the end of the day, you're helping people. I get a little emotional about that part.
As each car is loaded up, Washington's beef community knows that at least on this day, beef is what's for dinner. In Spokane, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll take you behind the scenes of an unforgettable cooking event featuring some of Minnesota's top chefs. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You work hard to feed your herd and maintain your property. John Deere 6 Series tractors give you choices that fit your operation. 6E tractors are simple and easy to use around your ranch. See all the angles when moving snow or maneuver easily in tight spots with 6M tractors. Get more power and premium comfort with 6R tractors. Mixing feed, weighing bales, and loading goods have never been easier with new loader technologies on 6Rs. Ask your John Deere dealer to learn more.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association would like to thank our gold partners. Their support allows us to continue being the trusted leader and definitive voice of the U.S. cattle and beef industry.
Time now for Weather Watch with meteorologist Matt Makins.
Time now for the Weather Watch. Happy New Year to you. Matt Makins here. Let's chat about this cold outbreak that's been hitting the country. It really started several days ago, but kind of culminated over the last couple of mornings. Been very, very cold. So what's driving the cold? Is there a connection to El Nino or La Nina? Let's discover that now in this Weather Watch. So here are an example, some of the minimum temperatures, the lowest temperatures we had just a couple of mornings ago. And we were down well below zero, double digits below zero across the northern states. Sections of Kansas fell below zero. We had single digits down into Oklahoma. So obviously a lot of cold, dangerously so, and costly for a lot of us. What drove that cold in here? Well, in some cases, there is a connection to El Nino or La Nina, but it's also winter, right? I mean, it's going to get cold. We're going to get snow. Those things do happen. But when you look at history, and let's go back to 1950. So since 1950, if you look at all winters of February, March, and April in El Nino cases versus La Nina cases, in which of those years was it more common to have cold reaching the southern plains? Well, it's much more frequent, much more likely to reach the southern plains during El Nino versus the northern plains. I'm not saying you're not going to get cold in the northern plains, but the frequency, the odds of these dangerous cold impacts are much more likely for the south during El Nino and the north during La Nina. Let's take that map and zoom it in here. So areas from Texas to the southeast, these areas are representing a 90% increase in the odds of getting problematic cold temperatures to you, again during February, March, and April. So yes, there is a connection to El Nino and La Nina. At least the climatology suggests there's a connection that you're more frequently going to get cold in those areas. But there's also this thing, you're hearing more about it in the mainstream media, and that's why I'm bringing it up now. Polar vortex, what is it? Well, it's kind of a cap, if you will, over the North Pole. It's an area of strong winds. When those winds weaken, which happens in the winter, it can get really wobbly like that. And when the polar atmosphere gets really wobbly, that represents sending pushes of cold air down to the south. So yes, there's a connection to El Nino and La Nina, but the bigger connection is what's happening over the poles, which is why we get these cold outbreaks regardless of El Nino or La Nina. You're going to read more about this in February's National Cattlemen. Until the next time, Matt Makins here.
One of the powerful ways beef checkoff dollars can be used to reach consumers is by giving them an opportunity to taste beef in creative, new ways and in fun, engaging settings. That's what happened in the summer of 2023 as the Beef Checkoff and several state beef councils joined in sponsoring the Heritage Fire Tour. One of the stops was in Minnesota, as Brian Baxter reports.
Just outside the Twin Cities in Minnesota, the grounds were packed with people lined up to taste a variety of foods, including creative beef dishes. This was the first stop on a unique farm-to-table event called the Heritage Fire Tour.
The Heritage Fire event is a perfect example of an event that we want to be a part of, where we can connect, the farmer and rancher that we work for to the consumer that are consuming the product, that are enjoying what we're raising. So we know the job we do, and we can talk amongst ourselves really easily, but it's great to come to these events and really witness what folks are doing and really just get a feel for the things that those consumers of our product are curious about, what they're enjoying and what they like.
How would something like this event today get sponsored if we didn't have the Beef Checkoff? And I do believe that it takes, this face-to-face interaction to really win over that consumer, and those things are really critical.
Of course, here we have about 1,000 people eating and enjoying beef, having conversations with local producers,
and producers from across the country here to talk about how beef is being raised across the country. The Heritage Fire Tour really started as a celebration of the farm-to-table movement. The chefs wanted to be able to use other proteins, and especially they wanted to be able to use beef. And so the event really expanded as a way to showcase social and environmental sustainability and creative cooking with beef.
In addition to serving up creative recipes and connecting with consumers, the event in Minnesota saw the debut of a new Beef Checkoff-funded documentary series, Cattle Calling.
Ranching, to me and my family, is a way of life. It's what we love to do, and we've done it for a long time.
When you work in a family business and you work on a family farm, it can be very challenging.
Where am I going?
We're going to go to the pond and bring them this way.
Well, I don't know where the pond is, but all right.
You got to step out of the role of dad or grandfather because you have a business to run.
Can't stand still. Have you figured that out yet?
My dad is a very hard worker. I don't know that he'll ever retire. He's very methodical and a very analytical business owner. He loves his cattle like they're his children. They're not only his business operation, but they're his livelihood.
So this is the debut. This is the #1 stop, I believe, of 3. This is pretty special to me as it's my family being debuted here on Cattle Calling, but it can be any one of our ranches, and that's what we have to do. We have to be able to tell our story.
This puts a face to the producers, and it shows consumers where their beef is coming from and the people that really work every day tirelessly to have the utmost animal care, sustainability initiatives, and really produce the highest quality protein for people.
I thought that the documentary was just really, really great to showcase at this stop 1 of this heritage tour. Telling the Bertram family of just what they're doing and what they're doing to their connection to the cattle and the land, and then their family story all the way through. It's just absolutely powerful.
I feel like this is a great investment of our checkoff dollars because we're the ones telling our story out in the public, and we're showing this to people who are non-cattle producers here at the Heritage Fire Tour.
In future episodes of Cattle Calling, other farming and ranching families will be profiled, all with the aim of showing consumers the reality of how beef is produced.
We saw recent research that 53% of Americans have never actually seen a cow in person. So they may very much enjoy beef, but they don't understand what all it takes to raise beef. So connecting producers and consumers while they're eating and enjoying beef has been incredible.
I think the biggest thing for me is it shows there's a family behind every beef that you consume. Whether it's our family here in Minnesota or down in Oklahoma or wherever it may be. And I know people all over this country, and if there's one message, the rancher really cares.
So we have to be a part of that and show our consumers and people that want to consume our product how we are sustainable on our ranches. And so that's part of our goal with this Cattle Calling and the episodes that we're going to show of how are we sustainable on our ranches.
Bottom line, at this Heritage Fire Tour stop, people had the opportunity for not only a taste of beef, but also new insights into the life and work of beef producers.
It's been really good to witness that interaction with both Bruce and Leanne and Clay here just a few minutes ago. Just talking with folks, they have a great way of just explaining what they do. So anytime that we can really get those people that are actively raising the beef cattle in front of these folks, it's a powerful thing. It's a good thing.
At the Heritage Fire Tour in Minnesota, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll look at how the Federation of State Beef Councils is making sure the industry is meeting the needs of consumers by producing a high-quality product. That story when we return.
By installing Ritchie waterers, you save water while keeping it fresh and always available to your animals. You protect the land by keeping natural water clean and soil healthy. And you conserve power because they're energy efficient. We're committed to helping you create a prosperous, sustainable, and regenerative future. Because we know, like you know, that every saved drop matters. Ritchie, fresh water for life.
Support U.S. beef cattle farmers and ranchers, and you could win a John Deere Premium Cab Gator. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is offering the chance to win this ultimate off-road vehicle. Scan the special QR code just for Cattlemen to Cattlemen viewers to go to the sweepstakes website and enter today. See the website for complete official rules. No payment necessary, void where prohibited.
One way to build a better business climate for cattle producers and to protect and enhance demand for beef is to deliver the best product possible to consumers. But how important is quality to chefs and other culinary professionals? We sent Clark Price, a North Dakota cattle producer and chair of the Federation of State Beef Councils, to Arizona to find out.
I'm Clark Price. I'm the current chair of the Federation of State Beef Councils, and I'm here with Dr. Travis O'Quinn with Kansas State University and Chef Ryan Clark from PY Steakhouse, where we're here at the Casino del Sol in Tucson, Arizona. Travis, I think we'll go with you, and you've done some research as far as eating quality, product quality. What have you learned when it comes to the consumer's eating experience?
Absolutely. We've done a lot of research related to consumer preferences for beef and how eating quality impacts that. When we look at that, it's really changed over time. It's been very interesting to see how consumer preferences for beef and what they're putting emphasis on have changed. If we went back to the early 1990s, tenderness was the biggest driver of beef eating satisfaction, and we would have said tenderness is the most important trait. Preference for tenderness being the most important trait has really shifted within consumers. Today, our consumers actually will tell us flavor is the most important trait that actually drives their eating satisfaction. And because of that, a lot of the research we've conducted have really been focused on beef flavor.
Interesting. So Chef Ryan, you're the one that puts the flavor into flavor.
We do. I mean, flavor and texture are really important for our guests. You know, they want to have a great, incredible experience here. Being a steakhouse, we can't hide, right? Beef is what it's all about. So, you know, sourcing is very important to us. I think at a lot of really exceptional restaurants, you think about like farm to table, right? That fresh produce that comes in, the quality. It's no different if you're doing ranch to table. And one thing that we really try to do here at the casino is more of like the chef to ranch. Our guests are really excited to hear about beef, where it comes from, the sustainability behind it, and our sourcing.
Yeah, and it's really became, pretty important to our consumers today, right? To know where their food's coming from. I mean, they all kind of have an interest in what we do because most of them don't understand the ranching business. We've come a long ways in the last 30, 40 years on how we produce this product for our consumers to eat. And they've told us they want the high quality stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've found in a lot of our research is that if you're going to say, what can we do to increase eating quality overall? Well, for the most part, the magic bullet is marbling. There's really nothing we can do to make a more juicy, flavorful eating experience than have a high degree of marbling within those beef cuts. Chef, I had a question for you.
Sure.
When you get beef in and you're looking at a fresh cut of beef, what exactly are you looking for that your consumers seem to be really craving in those products?
Well, it's funny you ask that. We have a lot of guests that are kind of craving different cuts. So we're working with ranchers and butchers in town to get different cuts that you don't see on an everyday steakhouse. But it's really cool to have like a cool out on the menu or a hanger steak or a braising meat that maybe somebody hasn't had before, like a nice beef shank.
From a producer standpoint, it's important for me to know that the product that I'm producing is the product the consumer wants.
And ultimately, that's what it's all about. If the consumers have a good eating experience here and one of these wonderful steaks, it brings them back for more. And that's what ultimately drives a lot of demand. This end product, this interface between the consumers and what these great beef products hit the plates and meet their expectations for eating quality. That's what brings them back to the table for more and ultimately helps producers like you drive demand.
That's exactly right. I mean, food brings people into restaurants, right? Hospitality, in my opinion, brings them back. So I think with the hospitality component, having that education and sharing the story of beef is really kind of one of the key components to bringing guests back to the steakhouse or coming back to eat amazing beef. So I think that's a really good point.
Well, Ryan, we're talking about beef quality, right? And the beef checkoff has been around for decades doing work on consumers' experience, eating experience on beef. And you could probably talk to us, Travis, about the research that you've done over the years as far as, product quality and different things like that Beef Checkoff's funded.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of checkoff funded research in the product quality area. Some of the highlights from some of that was we talked about the importance of tenderness and flavor, but juiciness is another component. I think all of us have had a steak that's just been too dry. And so through checkoff dollars, we were able to develop a instrumental measure to estimate beef juiciness. We've also done multiple research projects that our State Beef Council has contributed to, whether those were projects that were funded solely by our State Beef Council or in conjunction with national checkoff dollars. Some of those projects have worked on some novel technologies to improve and speed up the freezing and thawing process, as well as projects that have actually evaluated some of the plant-based alternatives to beef that are actually in the marketplace.
We really need to make sure that we're satisfying the needs of the consumer so that they continue to come back time and time again to have our beef meal.
Absolutely. The current markets, and as we look ahead, we don't have the ability to fail. This steak, when a consumer purchases it, no matter the price point, can't fail to meet their eating expectations, because that's how you lose customers. And so beef continuing to be the product that consumers go to when they want to celebrate something in their lives, things that when they go to a fine establishment such as this is the center of the plate for them. Beef being able to deliver the tenderness, juiciness, and flavor that consumers have come to expect, it remains a critical piece of being able to continue to keep beef demand up.
So I'm going to use that as my secret recipe, right? When people ask you, how'd you make that so good? What did you do? I'll say, I didn't do anything. It was the research, right? Helped develop the program a little bit better. But no, I mean, it definitely helps us out, right? We can't start with the bad product. You know, you want to start with the best product that you possibly can, and that's how you get really good food, no matter what you're sourcing.
Well, I think the most important thing for a producer is they got to take the credit for this quality of product, because they've really been the base of what made this product what it is today, because genetically and how things have changed over time, that we actually have a product that consumers are willing to pay a lot more for, because we get a better eating experience every time they sit down at the plate.
I agree with that, and I think that one of the key takeaways when we start talking about product quality is that this is everyone's responsibility, that it takes producers, packers, feeders, all the way to the end product users and chefs or even consumers at home to be able to guarantee that these beef products meet that expectation. There's things that can be done at each and every one of those levels that can both positively and negatively impact eating quality. And for us to be able to consistently deliver the level of eating expectation that these consumers expect, it takes work from all of us. And research has continued to be able to help drive that narrative, be able to identify practices at each of those levels that will help improve quality.
Well, thank you, Dr. Travis O'Quinn, for being here today and talking to us about the beef research that you've done on behalf of the Beef Checkoff, and Chef Ryan for inviting us down here to come have this great meal. And so let's dig into this food and enjoy a meal here with this steak on our plate.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
There can often be a disconnect between cattle producers and consumers, which is why there's value in teaching people at a young age where beef comes from and the role it can play in a healthy lifestyle. Here's a look at how the Arizona Beef Council is engaging with students by educating teachers first.
For the past several years, the Arizona Beef Council has hosted a session during the Arizona Career and Technical Education Summer Conference. The goal of the event? Teach the teachers about beef.
The Arizona Beef Council has partnered with this conference for over 5 years, and every year we try to bring the teachers something new and exciting, trending, things that are going to catch a high school student's attention. So that makes the teacher's job easier, obviously, if they can have something that catches their attention, but then also sticks in that student's brain while they're in school, but then hopefully after they graduate as well. And when they go to the meat case, they think, oh, I remember my teacher taught me this recipe, I want to try that now too.
The session was called Unique Spice Blends and Beef, and explored how herbs and spices can enhance flavor. The teachers even got to put their newfound knowledge to the test by mixing their own spice blends.
Today's session featured an African spice blend called the Bear Beret Spice Blend that's versatile across many cuts of beef, steaks, roasts, and is easy to make. We can find these spice blends at the grocery store, and it's something that a family can make in about 30 minutes and have a delicious meal. And teachers were able to make their own spice mix in a jar and take that back with them so that they could try it when they get home and hopefully like it and then take it to their classrooms.
Steve Wald, Executive Director of Culinary Innovation and Partnerships at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a contractor to the Beef Checkoff, joined the session virtually to provide an overview of current flavor trends, as well as information about beef that teachers can use in the classroom.
The Arizona Beef Council relies heavily on our federation partners to help us bring in experts in all areas to help with sessions like the one here with our culinary teachers, and we don't have the funding to staff someone like that. So with our federation partners, we can bring in that expertise straight to our culinary teachers and bring that extra value.
In addition to the educational session and hands-on activity, the Arizona Beef Council provided the teachers with a complete lesson plan and resource guide that they could implement in the classroom.
We know teachers are busy, so one of our goals is to give them a tool they can take right back to their classroom without having to put a lot of effort in on their part. We also offer cut charts and other resources, printed materials from our office to teachers that request those.
Another way the Arizona Beef Council supports educators is through the Beef Up the Classroom program, funded by the Arizona Cattle Industry Foundation. It offers middle and high school culinary and agriculture teachers the opportunity to apply for grants to purchase beef for their lesson plans.
We reimburse up to $100. The teachers have to go through an application process first, so that way we can kind of vet out what they're planning to teach, make sure it is in line with what we're looking at, and then use that in their classroom. Classroom funds are limited, so we want to make sure that culinary teachers are keeping beef in their lesson plans and in their curriculum every year.
With the aroma of spices lingering in the air, participants departed this event with the knowledge and resources they need to promote beef to the next generation of consumers.
With every presentation that we give through the Arizona Beef Council, we're trying to help people feel more comfortable with eating beef. On average, most teachers that we're reaching today are reaching about 150 students per school year. So that takes our beef message that we gave them today and amplifies it immensely across their year and then the rest of their teacher career as well.
Reporting from Arizona, I'm Brad Bulla for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still ahead, we'll introduce you to a Washington trailblazer with a passion for promoting beef. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. There are big benefits to being a member. You'll get industry news in the National Cattlemen, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus discounts just for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
The beef industry needs people who are willing to talk to consumers and answer their questions about how beef is produced from pasture to plate. That's why the checkoff-funded Trailblazers program is so important. Each year, a select group of beef industry advocates are chosen to receive specialized training in order to become expert communicators, excel in media interviews, and engage with consumers on social media platforms. Wendy White talked with Sam Casio, one of the 2023 Beef Trailblazers, to learn more about his background in the beef industry.
When I was 18, I immigrated to the state of Washington. I was born in Mexico originally, came to California when I was about 15 years of age. And when I moved to the state of Washington, I started working at a feed yard, just as manual labor. Started learning everything. And that never stopped. I moved to a different feed yard 3 years later and worked my way up to general management. At the end of that management position, I had 7 feed yards under me and about 130 30 people. And then 2 years ago, I decided to start my own company. And now I own a company called Back to Basics Consulting. So I do consulting with other feed yards to help them not forget the basics, basically, because I believe the basics help people and cattle.
Sam, how did you get started advocating for the beef industry?
Well, as a leader of people, I felt it was my responsibility to represent them and go out there and tell a story. Simple story of people gaining opportunity in our industry. Also to tell them that we consume what we grow. And it's such a fulfilling job to grow food for people. I just want to tell people what we do, how we do it, and then I want people to make their own decisions. And I just want them to know that it's safe and that it's grown by families. It's not factories, it's not a bunch of machines. It's a bunch of us humans with our families that work on these ranchers and feedlots and dairies and farms.
Sam, what's been the value of the Masters of Beef Advocacy program, and how did it help give you the tools and resources to share your story with others?
Well, I think anytime the beef checkoff dollars help guys like me get organized and get to know each other better so we can learn from each other, so we can expose the world to what we do truly in this country, because you don't grow beef the same way in every area. There's different cultures, there's different climates, there's different breeds. And what has helped me the most is to learn that there's a lot of different ways to grow beef. And I just think it's such a great product, and we should get together and celebrate it together and be able to tell people that what we grow is safe. The beef checkoff always helps on this regard because it's about just telling our story.
Recently, you've been named as a trailblazer in the new cohort. And so how has being named a beef trailblazer helped you share your message with a wider audience?
Well, that just gives you, is another step up from the Masters of Beef Advocacy. It exposes you to more knowledge. It allows you to travel and go learn other areas. Like in 2 weeks, we have a get together in Colorado, and we're gonna go through feed yards, ranchers, dairies, and we're gonna learn together a lot more. And I've always told people, you know, as a leader, you want more eyes on it, you want more ideas. You don't want just one person deciding what their idea is. And I think the Trailblazer program really helps with that. And it's really an honor to represent an industry that is giving me so much.
Anyone with an interest in promoting the beef industry is encouraged to enroll in the Masters of Beef Advocacy program. There's no cost to participate, and you complete the program on your own schedule. Just visit the website beefitswhatsfordinner.com/Masters of Beef Advocacy. We'll be back to wrap up our show right after this. Stay with us.
Are you ready for proven genetics that pay? Then look to Gelbvieh and Balancer.
The Gelbvieh and Balancer cattle, what they've done for our operation is by selecting the right bulls, we've been able to go all the way through the end product and really produce a product that brings the premium dollars.
Gelbvieh and Balancer genetics deliver more pounds of calf weaned and heavier carcass weights.
Pounds pay everybody. And then it's important for the cattle to reach a high quality grade with a high percent grading choice and prime.
When we first started going with Gelbvieh and Balancer bulls, that is when we started noticing these premiums increase. The premiums that we pick up, that's just extra money in our pocket.
Make the smart, reliable, and profitable choice with Gelbvieh and Balancer. Find out more at gelbvieh.org.
CattleCon 24 is marching onward to Orlando, January 31st to February 2nd, 2024. Have your say in the future of the industry, network with fellow producers, or connect with friendly faces. Plus, the NCBA trade show will be on site with over 385,000 square feet of the latest and greatest in the cattle business to help your operation stay competitive and sustainable. Learn more at convention.ncba.org.
Welcome back. Today, we've been highlighting the Federation of State Beef Councils and its efforts to enhance beef demand. We had a chance to ask some members of the beef industry what the Federation means to them.
The Federation means to me a coalition of individuals working together towards a common goal, and that goal is driving beef demand and ensuring more consumer trust. And it's a group of individuals that think independently but do share that common goal so that we can achieve what is best for our producers on their behalf while they're out in the fields doing what they do best.
I heard somebody say it the other day that if you got 200 cows, and you're going to take that $200 and you're going to invest that, what impact does that have? Not very big impact. But if you can take those same $200, collaborate them with everybody else's dollars, and put them into special projects, now it does something for beef demand.
We appreciate all of the opportunities that the Federation gives us to maybe get into, for example, digital marketing campaigns with Walmart and Sam's Club and opportunities like that we may not be able to necessarily be able to make those inroads ourselves with those entities.
We're all on the same team, so sharing the same ideas and don't need to recreate the wheel for everything. And the state-national partnership really helps us benefit and be efficient that way with our checkoff dollars.
We know that beef demand's being impacted. And we know that every dollar that we send in, myself, that I send in on that checkoff, is being utilized for that ultimate purpose, and we believe it's having a tremendous impact. You look at the research dollars and the promotion dollars that we've spent over the last 10, 20, 30 years, that's what's making the impact right now. When you look at the price of beef that's in the, at the grocery store today, and yet we still continue to see the demand, what we know is the consumer wants our product.
After 60 years, the Federation of State Beef Councils is still here. To me, that says that it's doing a good job in the programming that it puts out there. You don't hang around for 60 years unless you're doing something right. And so it's just the value that it provides to our industry, to our producers, and I'm excited to see what the next 60 years brings.
For more information about the Federation of State Beef Councils, visit the website ncba.org and click on the Federation link. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week, right here on RFD TV.